Roger Hernandez. I'm the resident coordinator for Barrio Unite. We have an established website at barriounite.org, and there's a lot of information that's been issued on this. But I'd like to just paraphrase it into the letter that I sent you guys last Tuesday. And basically, this is really the most interesting part of the whole thing, and that's that this vote happened on November 23rd of 2015. This whole issue came up before the board November 23rd, 2015, and it was unanimously opposed, except for there was one person, I believe, that voted for it and 2 people that abstained. So it was a vote of like 30 against, 1 opposed, and 2 people abstained. And then the executive committee issued a letter with respect to this to the mayor's office that listed 11 resolution items explaining why they opposed the mayor's MIH plan and his QZH plan. Those 11 resolutions have gone unanswered by the administration for the past 2 years, since November 23rd, 2015.
Tell it.
If that's not an indication to everybody here, and especially to the board members that are going to vote, then I think you're missing the point. This is a scam, this plan, because number one, it's committing $41 billion of public funds to basically subsidize the real estate industry to build units that neither meet the need of this community nor really offer anything more than what the community sponsors and not-for-profits can do themselves. And the mayor Koch did this back in back 30 years ago when he announced his $12 billion plan. It was a 10-year plan, and the essence of that plan was that he relied on community developers from the communities, local not-for-profits to serve as community sponsors. And all of New York City was rebuilt. All of those broken teeth within the blocks, all those burnt out buildings, all of the affordable housing that exists today was created by that plan. And the secret to that success was that it involved local community organizations. Today, this whole extension of the Bloomberg administration targeting 14 communities to upzone the building height limitations to 35 stories.
With 3 developers.
Utilizing like less than 5 developers. You know, it just doesn't cut it. And if anybody here believes that plan is going to bring anything to this community that we should be celebrating, I invite you that you read my article that was published in City Limits, which calls this plan the Trojan Horse. Because they're dressing up a Trojan horse to come into our fort and to basically come out at night and do a sin.
Hi, my name is Carmen Vasquez. I'm a resident of East Harlem for over 30 years, but my tie to this community was from the day I was born. And my mother used to bring us here from the South Bronx to shopping in Marqueta. I went to Benjamin Franklin High School, which is on 116th Street. So what I'm saying is that this is not just a little piece of New York City. This is a historic neighborhood that has the lives of many people entangled in it for many years, for decades, not just for a few years. Those of the people who have joined East Harlem in the last few years because it's affordable. That's a good story to come here, but those of us who've been here for a long time, we are here because it's our home. It's what we need, it's what our people need, it's what our children need. My children cannot afford to stay here in East Harlem with the so-called low income. Every time I go into the New York City website to look at that low income, those rents are not affordable for my children or my friends' children or my grandchildren to come. What I'm saying is I'm not asking the board to vote no. I am demanding them to vote no. Because I've been part of this community for all my life. And I am demanding that the board and the city and everybody else involved to vote no on this rezoning. It is a criminal act against our people.
How you doing? I've been living here since I was 9 years old, and before that I lived in the South Bronx. I love my community. I work here as a health coach with people with diabetes. This is the place with the most concentration of diabetes, and I love being able to go to people's house and helping them out with high blood pressure and asthma, which is a lot of it is caused by the bad conditions in the building. But that's another point. I like living in this neighborhood. I want to stay being able to live in this neighborhood, and we have to vote no on the rezoning because we have to keep this community together and be able to live here. That's right.
Good evening, my name is Lynn Lewis. I'm a proud resident of El Barrio for 18 years. This is a beautiful community. We do not need to be rezoned. Rezoning is a process designed to change the community. And change it to what? A higher income community with larger buildings, higher rents, and more expensive retail. We all know that the affordable housing proposed by the city is not really affordable to the majority of residents in this community. It is a lie that the affordable units will somehow make up for all the moderate to market rate apartments that will be built here. Several years ago, when low-income housing was built on my block on 118th Street by a local developer, Friendly Hands Ministries, most of the people in my building were too poor to afford the affordable housing because the minimum income was $28,000 a year. Wow. If you vote for this rezoning, there are many low-wage workers, disabled and elderly folks who will no longer be able to live in this neighborhood. They have names, and there are children, their parents, their grandparents, there are neighbors, there are friends, and their interests must be defended by you, our community board. They are not disposable or expendable. I have worked in the areas of housing, homelessness, and land use for over 30 years. I'm the past executive director of Picture the Homeless. I also sit on the boards of 2 community land trusts, one on the Lower East Side and one here in East Harlem. And although tonight I'm speaking as a concerned community member, a neighbor, a mother, and a grandmother, I can tell you there are solutions to the issues that need to be addressed here, and the rezoning will only make them worse. Thank you to members of the Land Use Committee who voted no on the proposed rezoning Friday night. The recommendations, however, do not go far enough. The recommendations will not stop the greedy landlords seeking to cash in and harass us out of our buildings. The recommendations will not build new housing for the majority of people that currently live in this neighborhood. The vacant and underutilized city-owned land and buildings are our assets and must be reserved for development for neighborhood residents most in need. They should all be placed into the El Barrio Community Land Trust. The city has allowed vacant lots to sit empty all these years, and private owners have allowed buildings to sit empty for decades. After the rezoning, a whole bunch of people are going to be making a whole bunch of money at our expense. Even while this community has some of the highest rates of overcrowding in the city. Why do you think that they're promoting this rezoning? Because that's who gives them money to run for their campaign. The mayor is a primary recipient of big real estate money. Free the land for those who need it most. I have lived in my apartment on 118th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue for 18 years. I have raised my children here, and although they both have college degrees.
Your time is up.
No. Go.
Yeah.
Elliot is ceding his time to
He is
me.
exceeding his time. Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you, Elliot. Although both my children have college degrees, they cannot afford to live in this neighborhood. Although I have primary child care responsibilities helping my grandson, who attends elementary school here, the boys club, and plays basketball for Castle Hill, he has to wake up at 7 in the morning and doesn't get home till 10 p.m. because my family cannot afford to live in this neighborhood. And why is that? Because the rents are too high. They have more than doubled in the past 10 years. And who benefits? Slumlords and gentrifiers. Who loses out? We all do. And every time somebody is evicted, and every time somebody can't afford to live here, we all lose a friend, and we all lose an elder that might need somebody to make them some soup when they get sick. And we all lose a child that we need to have close to us. We need this community board to vote no to rezoning, because that's not the kind of neighborhood we need to live in. That's not the kind of city that we want to live in. Basic math and common sense tell us that the administration has been selling us out. And now with Trump in office, none of that HUD money is going to come to pay for that so-called low-income affordable housing. None of that money is coming. So that means the mayor's plan, even though only 8% would have funded extremely low-income housing citywide, which we can fill up in 10 minutes in this neighborhood, none of that is going to get funded by Trump. So whatever was a lie is now going to totally disappear. Who do you represent on the community board? Do you represent the cashier in Dwayne Reed, or the home health aide making $10 an hour, or the restaurant worker bringing home less than $20,000 a year, or the other grandmas on Social Security who maybe get $12,000 a year? What about the street vendors selling your children ices after school, or the workers stocking our grocery store shelves when we go shopping? The musicians and the poets, should they only get streets named after them when they die, but no housing that they can afford to live in? And all the homeless folks, this community sends the highest number of homeless families to the shelter system in Manhattan. And why? Because they can't pay the rent. If you don't think that's our problem, then we need to really look in the mirror. We need to look in the mirror at ourselves. So all these giant buildings going up all up and down 3rd Avenue, we know we're not going to be able to live in them. People with a lot more money are going to come in here and directly or indirectly displace us.
Your time is up.
I'd rather have a café con leche than a Starbucks any day.
I'm gonna be ceding my time to Carlina.
Carlina Thomas.
A regular tennis ball.
I can do it?
Yes, you may.
Yes.
Go.
Hi, I've been living in East Harlem all my life.
Carlina, out of respect of the next speaker, I'll be glad to put you on. I do have Juan Peralta, Osma Trujillo, and Carla Reyes, who are scheduled.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, we thought you had the last 5. We thought that was the last.
She got like 3 minutes.
She can say I got it.
She's not on my pre-registered list.
No, I'm
Okay,
ceding my
there's
time.
nothing to say that I did not.
I'm ceding my time.
I've been waiting for everything else for the last 50 years. I've been waiting for my 3 minutes. I've been waiting for everything else.
Thank you very much.
While we talk about city, de Blasio, one of the things I would like to tell everybody, the Democratic Party here in de Blasio, through its district leaders and political assets, are very responsible for what's going on.
That's right.
Now,
They sold out.
how many of you, ustedes, fueron a la oficina de Assemblyman Rodríguez, Serrano, tienen que ir allá, tú tienes que pedirle a ellos que cambien el no, hacer no. Una otra cosa, pues nosotros estamos peleando, we're fighting for the space here in East Harlem. The space is already bought. BFC, Radnor, Goldman Sachs, all those empty buildings, they're already programmed. And the Trump administration and the Russians are gonna pump money, billions of dollars. So while we talk about where are the empty buildings, God damn it, the empty buildings are already bought. They've been bought for years, they're just waiting for this plan. So I asked the community board members, look around the neighborhood, see the empty buildings, they're already bought. Find out who owns them. The people who own them behind our building is owned by Goldman Sachs. a big empty lot on 115 between Fifth and Madison, right?
Yeah, Wells Fargo.
Right? Wells Fargo owns other buildings. Now, we need to understand that. Examine, the board members should examine, check out those empty buildings, check out who owns them, and this big plan, $1 billion plan, like a lot of people have said, contributed to de Blasio and Deputy Mayor. And we, as you know, we're starting a suit. We're asking the federal government, the Eastern District of New York, to investigate the conflict of interest between Deputy Mayor Glenn and L&M, okay? And I want all of us to understand that. We have a piece in the BarrioUnite.org, and as you heard before, we need to really try to understand what's going on. It's not about us. I want to translate in Spanish. One of the things that we need to understand, this is a big money game. It's not about blacks and Puerto Ricans and all of this stuff, because white people are affected. One of our volunteers came from 92nd Street, a white girl, Jewish white girl, who said, I was thrown out in a rent-stabilized apartment, and now she lives in East Harlem. What I'm saying to you, everyone's affected by this monopoly of money. 3 people, Radner, BFC, Don Capoccia, and L&M, Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs es una compañía muy grande, como nosotros, como ustedes estaban diciendo ahora, como ustedes, los 10 puntos son buenos, pero la experiencia de nosotros es que la comunidad coge esos programas, no la jodida ciudad que es responsable para ellos. Ellos están gastando los problemas y ustedes están pidiendo que te ayuden. Come on, all right? Piensen en eso. Muchas gracias.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, board. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not really turning my back to you, but I want to just talk to people over here. Many people know me, Pilar de Jesus. Sometimes they call me Pilar la Problema. And I think you know I come here all the time saying the same thing. I'm here at the hearings, I'm here at every time saying the same exact thing, because I've lived in this community for 36 years. I represent tenants in this community in housing court for the last 2 years. And so I have, the experience, and the knowledge of what goes on in our communities and how this placement is really affecting our people. It's really, really affecting them. It's causing lots of displacement, and it's a fact. And I tend to be more aggressive, but I want you guys to understand where my compassion and my passion comes from when I come to the board, and I'm aggressive and all this because my people are suffering. And the mayor, the city speaker, they don't care about us. And if they did, they wouldn't be rezoning communities of color. We don't need rezoning. Yes, we have a housing crisis, but it's due to real estate, due to the greed, it's due to people being chosen and we're looked at as commodities. We're not looked at as human beings anymore. And it's really unfortunate, and people are angry and frustrated because nobody wants to be homeless. I don't know if you know what it's like to be in the shelter system or even what that process is like or anything. It's awful. Nobody wants to be without food. Nobody wants to, you can't live your life if you don't have a home. So, again, I'm here to say, I don't want no conditions. It is a no. You don't vote, it's like you're selling us to the devil. Like we're selling our lives to the devil for a little piece of, I don't know what. I don't want us to vote. I want no with no conditions. No conditions. And I want to say that again. No with no conditions. No with no conditions. No with no conditions. No with no conditions. We were children of all colors. I have now had 3 children of my own, which are of color.
My son is a well-working kid in the community, could not move there. We could not afford to live there. You know I support my community 120%. I was gonna run to be district leader. Yeah. And guess what they told me? No, you are the nicest lady in the neighborhood. The politician sucks over here. So, with saying that, all I'm saying is that it should have been affordable for my son to go get him an apartment in Harlem where he did not have a basketball court to play on. My son, where I live at in Taft houses, I think y'all gentrificated that already. Because now our elevators don't work. The basketball courts are now turned into garbage chutes. I don't think it's fair. The handicap doors are not working. We have a bunch of issues going on in Taft houses. But at the end of the day, y'all built a building in the middle of Johnson. If y'all took our church down they want to take our church to build buildings taller than us, taller than our 20 stories. It's unfair to us. Put a basketball court in my neighborhood for my kids of color. I would appreciate that. And I'm not thinking about being a political leader. I'm going to help y'all get there, and I'm going to watch what y'all do and step on y'all toes.
But I've listened.
I saw you
I've
out
heard.
there.
We're going to take it back to the city. This is just what I want to say. I understand that you guys do not want conditions, but I implore you to state what your concerns are, what you state here tonight. I understand that, but no is what? No means no! 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 No rezoning! No rezoning! No rezoning! No rezoning! No rezoning! No rezoning!
We do not want for-profit developers on public land. 100% low income, I'm not going to say affordable, low. We do not want L&M. So please make sure that you vote no for that. No. No one's listening, but no for L&M, please, guys. We do not need a for-profit. I think there's 650 units and only 115 are quote-unquote affordable, so that still means that there will be apartments at a rate of $3,400 a month, so that's not affordable. There's a charter school, there's public land being used to displace people. That's my point. And I'm against it, and with my community that's against it, so we do not want it, okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Does anybody in this room want to hear this? We're gonna do this real quick. Board, I would ask you for less than two minutes. I don't even need that many, and we're gonna do this real quick. And
what is your name?
I will tell you that, and I will tell the room that. I got it all together, don't worry about it. For those that do not know me, my name is Shannon Jones. I am the co-founder of Bronx Sites for NYPD Accountability, affectionately known as Why Accountability. We were born out of the chokehold death of Eric Garner, captured on video, July 17th of 2014. And we have been working ever since to stop police brutality, police abuses, and their subsequent iterations of racism in black and brown communities, which include gentrification, which include displacement, which include harassment, which include overt acts of racism in this country. So that is my name, that's my organization, and that is my purpose. So what I have to say today is this. There were two words that I didn't hear all evening long, and I think they need to be said for the record, and they are white, and they are people. Don't be scared to call out white people on their racist bullshit. Don't be scared to call out white people on their racist bullshit. Don't be scared of it. When these folks move out of this room and you call them gentrifiers, you're doing yourself a disservice. You call them racist, because that's how they operate. Anybody in this room live in public housing night, y'all? Development, I'm talking to you, because as addition to being a police brutality activist,
activist, police abolitionist, I am also a NYCHA resident. Let me explain something to you. NYCHA, this is a sleeping giant, you better rise up. Don't get on no bus going to Albany begging for money. Don't go to Mayor Bill de Blasio begging for money. Don't talk about Trump as taking away your money. That is not the fight. Listen to me carefully, that is not the fight. The fight is putting yourself in position to own your apartment and properly manage your building. Section 18 of the HUD law states that you can own your apartment when NYCHA wants to dispose of property or dispose of units. Put yourself in position to take over those apartments. You may not do it for you, but you're doing it for generations after you. Hear me and hear me good. Don't beg for your money. Sit around and get in your own apartment and devise how you're going to own it and own your own building. Make sure you get together and you form a tenant, not this bullshit ass tenant association that the city gives you, because you see what the city's giving you. The city's giving you eviction, displacement, and police abuse. So don't go through NYCHA tenant association. Form your own tenant association and file it with the IRS. So when NYCHA is ready to dispose of your building, dispose of your parking lot, dispose of your playground, you are in legal position to say no. This association will not stand for it, and we are legally preempting you from doing so. Put yourself in position. Okay? So again, when you get up here and you beg these people and you explain to them, oh, I'm poor, this will cause rent this will cause rent that. You don't tell them, Shannon, what to do. You tell them what's going to happen if they vote yes. Don't tell them not to vote no. You tell them what's going to happen if they vote yes. We're going to be at your house. Miss Diana, hear me good. If you vote yes, we come into your house. If you vote yes, we come into your house. If you vote yes, we're coming to your house. Members of the board, if you vote yes, we're coming to your house. We will be at your house. You understand that? All right? The Bronx is watching what y'all do. If they vote yes, go to the house. Your whole right tonight is to get their addresses. Go to the house. Let us know. El Barrio no se rende. El Barrio no se rende.
Thank you for your patience. Well, actually, we have the patience, but at the end of the day, I can hope that at this point right now, that the same way we heard you out, just give us that respect, okay? Because we are here to actually listen to the voices of the people of the community, but understand that everything is being done for the betterment. No! Excuse me, right now, public session is over. So can you just listen to what our committee is now, we're turning it over to rezoning, so that we can then listen to what's going on as we're doing our vote and our resolutions. So I'll turn it over to my, to the rezoning committee.
Also, I would like all of the rezoning committee to join. Chair and vice chair.
I'll smile real quick.
We gonna be at the rally on Saturday, bro.
That's right.
Right.
Good evening, everybody. My name is LaShawn Henry. I'm the chair of the Rezoning Task Force. And these are the folks who participated in putting together the recommendations for the Rezoning Task Force that was presented to us by DCP. I'm going to now read the testimony that I presented at Land Use on Friday, June 16th. Over the past few years, Community Board 11 has invested a considerable amount of time and resources into engaging the community and planning for the future. Through our initial engagement and planning along Park Avenue in 2013 to the East Harlem Neighborhood Plan Steering Committee, and more recently through our Rezoning Task Force, we've helped create a vision for our community that acknowledges existing growth and change. but emphasizes the protection of existing community residents and neighborhood character. Through the East Harlem Neighborhood Plan, we developed a simple rezoning framework that embraced the city's new mandatory inclusionary housing MIH program, supporting the minimum upzoning needed to trigger MIH. This will require affordable housing in every new development in the rezone areas, but minimize the added density and help to preserve community character and stimulate local small businesses and economic growth. We suggested upzoning all avenues and 116th Street, intentionally deciding to spread a minimum increase in density throughout a large area, rather than a higher density rezoning in a limited area. We determined this would allow for development of affordable housing throughout the district, but not permit new development inconsistent with the existing community context. The Community Board and the East Harlem Neighborhood Plan Steering Committee were disappointed to learn that after 2 years of developing a community-based rezoning proposal, the Department of City Planning did not embrace all of our goals. While their proposal does rezone the community with the goal of developing affordable housing and economic stimulation, it does not preserve the existing character of the neighborhood. DCP has instead decided to allow the highest density residential districts allowed under state and city law in a limited geography on Park Avenue and 3rd Avenue, rather than spreading out a minimum upzoning across the neighborhood. DCP left out the area south of 104th Street, all of 1st Avenue, as well as the lower stretches of Madison Avenue, all of which were included in the East Harlem Neighborhood Plan. The need to develop affordable housing and job creation is not just an East Harlem goal. It is clearly a citywide goal. But the Department of City Planning must approach this goal without impacting the community excessively and respecting its existing character. DCP instead chose to extend the same density found on the Upper East Side into East Harlem. Community Board 11 feels strongly that the proposal as it is does not conform to our core values, the East Harlem Neighborhood Plan, and the CB11 Park Avenue recommendations.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn it over to the Vice Chair Jeremiah to talk about some of the recommendations that the task force has made.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see everyone out here when we're talking about something so fundamental to a family's stability as their housing. There's naturally going to be passions, and rightfully so. When I started on this endeavor with the Rezoning Task Force, I was pleased to see that CB11's goal, the Community Board's goal, has always been paramount to its mission has been the preservation and protection of affordable housing. And I, as a tenants attorney who represents exclusively low-income families, many of whom come from East Harlem, my career is dedicated to the preservation and protection of that affordable housing, of that rent-stabilized housing. Right? I'm combating constantly the illegal deregulation, the substandard conditions, and that's what I do day in and day out. So I was pleased that I have a lot of like-minded board members who are also focused primarily on preservation and protection. However, that being said, I have spoken with individuals. I actually remember an exchange I had with Beyond in one of our early rezoning task force meetings. A lot of people know about rent stabilization. I think it needs to be strengthened, it needs to be protected, and that is beyond a question. However, we also know that rent stabilization is a product of Albany, not the city. So we're taking upstate interests, we're taking conservative interests, and they're making compromised legislation. Because of that, no apartment is permanently rent stabilized. Even if it complies with law, if you have the best landlord in the world and he or she does not raise your rent except by the permitted amount, maintains the apartment in habitable condition, follows all the rules and regulations, corrects violations, that apartment will eventually be deregulated to market apartment because that's the law, right? Even in the best case scenario, that's the law. Because of that, we need to look at preservation and protection, but we also need to be creative because we need to look at ways that we can make housing permanently affordable beyond NYCHA, right? Which is an important resource which the board has always maintained needs to be strengthened, repairs need to be done, lots of things are wrong that we need to address with NYCHA. But we want to expand beyond that into private housing and see how we can permanently protect affordable housing, and the board's position is affordable housing, affordable for East Harlem, okay? So, that being said, I'm going to quickly, for those of you that were at the land use meeting, I'm gonna keep it even more brief than it was then, just highlight some bullet points. But the recommendations, which we found the city's proposal fails to take into account, our recommendations after a years-long process of engaging community stakeholders and partners and residents, a lot of us who have been born and who were born and raised in this community as well, we are demanding that there be a renewal of anti-displacement legal services contracts. So, for example, the Tenants' Rights Coalition, which the Legal Aid Society and Legal Services of New York have with the city, which I saw Abuelo Franco here earlier too, and his tenants and neighbors organization is in partnership as well. That needs to be renewed, but also renegotiated in a way that enables legal services providers to determine what the benchmarks are, so that we can actually represent groups in an effective way, okay, to get leverage against landlords who are committing illegal acts. We also firmly believe that there needs to be an increase in the number of HPD inspectors, as well as an increase in the convenience of inspection times for the tenants. Ensure adequate and prompt follow-up on whether the violations were cured by the landlord. And those fines, when they are not cured, need to be issued immediately when the time is run by law. Importantly, HPD must increase its response to complaints regarding emergency conditions, particularly no heat or hot water, as well as promptly fine and correct itself any violations the landlord does not correct, and immediately fine and bill the landlord for those repairs. There needs to be a greatly increased HPD outreach to the public, an aggressive campaign on HPD's role in addressing housing maintenance issues, and there needs to be, among other things, a creation and publication of an HPD website with consolidated user-friendly information regarding housing maintenance issues. Furthermore, the board firmly supports increased and proactive outreach by the city to identify landlords who could benefit from subsidies to bring unregulated buildings into rent regulation schemes. So, for example, there are those of you who live in market units, less than 6 apartments oftentimes in the building, but many of those landlords still provide affordable housing because they're part of this community. They are also the friends and neighbors of these tenants. So we want the city to proactively identify those landlords who might be able to benefit from city funds, for example, to refinance a mortgage, in order to make those apartments, which under law would not be rent regulated, to bring them into rent regulation scheme and further expand the stock of affordable housing. There also needs to be establishment of a citywide certification of no harassment. At a minimum, there needs to be an expansion of the current program to all of Community District 11, all of East Harlem. Okay? So there needs to be a certification before a landlord can deregulate any regulated apartments or demolish them of no harassment. To the extent there needs to be a prohibition in any new developments that include permanent affordable housing against offsetting affordable housing off-site. So, for example, developers right now in permanent affordable housing, if they don't want to take, they can have more market apartments in their building, and in exchange for doing that, they can put an increased percentage in an off-site building. But what this tends to do is often segregate along income and racial lines, so CB11 firmly prohibits the ability of developers to offset affordable housing requirements. CB11 also believes in a more deeply affordable mixed inclusionary housing scheme, a 50-30-20 scheme. 50% are going to be affordable housing, and affordable is gauged to our community of East Harlem. We all know that a substantial amount of East Harlem lives at or below 30% of AMI. MIH right now averages out 25% of units to 60% of AMI. That leaves the majority of our community out. So under CB11's plan, 50% will need to be regulated. 20% is reserved exclusively for those making 30% or less of AMI. 30% of other permanent affordable units would be reserved for those in our community who are making between 31 and 120% of AMI, because many of your friends and neighbors are included in that, working families, but they're still severely rent burdened. Yep. Any public land would be reserved for 100% affordable residential housing, which includes any NYCHA infill projects. And no NYCHA infill projects shall be undertaken without the participation and approval of the affected NYCHA residents. In any public land for the 100% affordable housing projects, priority shall be given to local nonprofit developers in all RFPs for that development. We also demand that the city and state ensure that any subsidies that are directed towards housing preservation, deeper affordability, and open spaces continue in perpetuity, regardless of what happens with the federal government and any budget cuts. There also needs to be an increase in programs and subsidies for home ownership opportunities for low-income and moderate-income families in order to be able to build nest eggs and to be on the road to real long-term stability and generational stability. There also needs to be the adoption of an anti-warehousing tax, whether it be directly to the landlords or on those sale of properties that have been warehoused. And any landlord that is warehousing residential units.
Can you explain that a little bit more, please?
Yeah, so many of you, I'm sure know, better than even some board members, there are a lot of buildings which are quote-unquote warehouse, which means that they lie empty. So you've seen a lot of buildings that, for example, who are sitting atop commercial floors, but you'll just see 4 or 5 floors of boarded up windows. And
just make a motion to not approve the project unless the recommendations by the rezoning task force are adhered to, and we had, according to the way it was read by our colleague Jeremiah, providing a path. Excuse me. What was added also was an amendment by Harlem Rezoning to add in a clause that provide a path for home ownership for the residents in an attempt to create a more stabilized neighborhood. Also, another amendment was proposed by Alex Cohen that does not solely rely on environmental impact statements, but that is inclusive of community stakeholders. I'm going to also yield to my vice chair, Stephen Villanueva, who's going to read the resolution of the East Harlem Rezoning.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in business session.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to read to you the resolution on East Harlem neighborhood rezoning. Thank you. Whereas Community Board 11 of Manhattan is tasked with ensuring the interest and welfare of Community District 11, the district which encompasses the neighborhoods of East Harlem, Randall's Island, and Ward's Island. Whereas, in furtherance of fulfilling its duties, CB11, together with East Harlem community residents, stakeholders, and partners, has spent many years engaging in extensive community planning, an effort which culminated in the creation of the East Harlem Neighborhood Plan, a community-driven comprehensive plan for fostering smart growth in CB11. Whereas the New York City Department of City Planning, together with New York City Department of Housing, Preservation, and Development, has submitted a land use application seeking approval of certain proposed actions which would permit upzoning the vast majority of areas in East Harlem, thereby resulting in an increase in density. Whereas, with the interest and community needs in mind, CB11 created a rezoning task force to closely examine the city's rezoning proposal in an effort to ensure the city's rezoning proposal reflects, preserves, and enhances East Harlem's unique culture and yields an improved quality of life for all East Harlem residents, particularly with respect to affordable housing. Whereas, after careful and deliberate examination and with consideration of the community input solicited and gathered, the rezoning task force concluded that the city's rezoning proposal fails to adequately consider and address the needs and desires of the residents of East Harlem. Whereas, upon concluding that the city's rezoning proposal is not in line with the community's vision, the rezoning task force has outlined specific recommendations which include more appropriate means of achieving the community's vision
as well as the need for the development of more permanently affordable housing for East Harlem residents. Now therefore be it resolved that CB11 therefore stands firmly against the city's rezoning proposal unless such proposed actions are considerably modified to reflect the interests task force recommendation to mitigate the impacts of any such rezoning, and be it further resolved that CB11 further demands that BCP modify its rezoning proposal so that it respects the community as reflected in the East Harlem neighborhood plan and preserves East Harlem culture. Resolved that BCP continue to engage East Harlem and CB11 in crafting a new rezoning proposal which includes only the minimum increase in density with protected unitary inclusionary housing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not your decision. You can take it. Yes, it is! Yes, it is! But tonight, Community Board 11 will present their advisory recommendation. You can yell, you can call us a sellout, all you want, but tonight, we're going to exercise our democratic right and vote. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call a vote. You're going to yell at me, and you're going to stand up. You stand up and you say yes. Now you're saying no. No. Do you need clarification? I'm looking at my board. Here's a question from one of the board members. Vote from the community board is no with conditions. Just say no! Can you clarify the motion?
Excuse me, can I have some voice right now? Well, get on, I'm sorry. We're voting on no. We want DCP to listen to what we've been giving them based on what we came out of the resolution.
So I'm going to hand the mic over to you, Nate Call.
We're doing a roll call. All right, so we're taking the vote that we're voting no against the rezoning. We want DCP with the condition. DCP has listened to everybody. No conditions!
not with the no with conditions.
All right.
I want to vote yes because I'm not in agreement with the rezoning.
That's right.
It's like at 22. If I vote no to one, and I vote yes to the other, that's saying yes to rezoning.
That's all abstain.
No condition! 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 No I don't know, he's like pushing me.
Give me a bump of flat.